The unexpected happened when I worked as a pizza delivery driver.
For reference, I am a college student who had been working part-time as a pizza delivery driver for my local pizzeria for 2 months. Last spring, once summer break began, I started my pizza deliveries. The pay is decent and my coworkers are incredibly nice, but I can't help but feel a sense of dread whenever I work the night shift. Normally, I enjoy my evening drives due to the lack of traffic and business of the day life. However, delivering pizza at night to the one house on the edge of the city map fills me with dread every time I'm faced with the task. It all started when we got a call around a month ago at around 11 p.m. It was from a soft-spoken lady ordering 10 boxes of large sausage and pepperoni pizza alongside a small Dr. Pepper. We've catered for large events such as weddings and birthdays in the past, so this was nothing earth-shattering. What surprised us was that she was ordering this much pizza in the middle of the night. We dismissed it as a very late event and began working on the pizzas. There were about 5 of us assembling everything and got a routine going. It took about 45 minutes for everything to be done. Thank goodness for the excess amount of ovens we have despite being a small business. After packing the boxes and shoving them inside the car, I drove towards the lady's house. It was not hard to find, but the house happened to be an area of town I never visited before. It was dark and secluded within a forest. Only a few houses were part of the development, but they were all nice and gorgeous. The lady's house had the longest driveway, making her house more hidden than the others. I didn't see any cars in the driveway or any other indicator of a party, so my curiosity peeked through the roof. However, I did not want to judge this woman and make sure she got her order as soon as possible. I knock on the door and it softly creaks open. The woman was older and slightly disheveled but kept a friendly face. She whispered out a hello and asked me how I was doing. I told her I was fine and asked where she wanted me to place the boxes of pizza alongside the Dr. Pepper. She told me anywhere in the kitchen would be fine and allowed me to enter through the door with the food. The house was spotless and still had no indications of an upcoming party. It was a modest cabin with some tapestry and trinkets. The tables were void of anything outside of a potted plant by the windowsill and a tea set. I wanted to ask why she needed all the pizzas, but I did not want to intrude on her personal life. She gave me a tip and thanked me for the pizza. After the interaction was said and done, I thought I would never have to see her again, or at least for a while. That's when she called again next week at the same time. In fact, she ordered the exact same thing as last time. 10 large sausage and pepperoni pizzas with a small Dr. Pepper. My coworker, Jenny, and I gave each other the side eye as the call came through the speaker. We carried on the montage of assembling and cooking the pizzas. This time, our manager helped us out the moment she took a peek at the order. She told us she would have helped last week if it weren't for a family gathering. Afterward, we once again stacked the pizzas in the trunk of the car and I made my way towards the hidden house. Nothing in her yard appeared out of the ordinary outside of a giant dug-up hole being patched up, but I assumed it was normal yard work. I rang the doorbell the same way I did last time, and I was once again greeted by the familiar voice. While she kept her friendly attitude, her eye bags and pale skin told another story. Like last time, I propped up the pizzas on the kitchen table. I told her she must have some big plans for the pizza, and she simply nodded. Unless I am missing the picture, it appears that the lady lived on her own. She had pictures of what I assumed were her husband, children, and grandchildren, but it was hard to make out some of the faces due to how old some of the pictures were. One photo of her and her husband appeared almost brand new but looked nothing like the man in the other photos. After reading the fine print, I realized the lady's name was Cheryl. This became a routine every Sunday evening for us, to the point where our manager became aware and began giving more employees work shifts on Sundays, which were already busy due to churchgoers frequently visiting us after their weekly mass. However, nobody knew about our duties during the night shift. On one fateful evening, when the sun set and said our farewells to the customers, we all sat around the table waiting for the anticipated call. To our surprise, we did not receive the call once the time reached 11 p.m. When 11 became 12 and 12 became 1, my coworkers began to leave, but I vowed to stay just in case. Once the clock struck 3, my tired state got the best of me and I passed out face flat onto the cold marble kitchen floor. Momentarily, in a cold sweat, I woke up to the sound of the ringing telephone. Picking myself up slowly but surely, I answer the call. It's the same lady, and she asks for her order of pizza and the small Dr. Pepper. At this point, I had no clue how I was going to tackle this all on my own. When I turned around, I saw the boxes of pizza appear in front of me on the countertop. I touched the boxes to see if they were real and I wasn't in a trance. The pizzas were real and I scooped them up in my hands and darted towards the car. The yard looked like an absolute disaster, with piles of dirt scattering the entire landscape. Some of the piles of dirt surpassed the height of the house. As if everything was normal, I knocked on the door, which caused the door to open itself. I shouldn't have barged in, but I decided to immediately place the pizzas and the drink down on the kitchen table and then make a run for it. Before I could step out of the house, I heard a blood-curdling scream come from a lower level of the house. Thinking someone could be in danger, I ran directly to the source of the sound after grabbing some self-defense equipment. The basement stairs creaked with each step. Once I made it down all the way, I did some exploring until I found the cause of the screaming. When I turned to the corner of the basement, what I saw made me want to lose last night's dinner and lunch. There was a party happening in the basement, but all of the guests had long passed away. Most of the party members were reduced to skeletons with some still in the decaying process. The sight and the stench made my eyes water. Forgetting about the woman, I could barely hold on to the railing as I crawled up the stairs. She asked where I was going, but I could not respond. That's when the door to the upper floor closed on me and I was dragged back down the stairs. I asked why she was doing this and she growled at me, saying I got myself into this situation and didn't trust me to leave. In a panic, I told her I wouldn't have to be here if she didn't order boxes of pizza for dead people. Last week, my coworker made a joke that this woman was holding people hostage in her basement and that's why she needed all the pizzas. Little did I know, her little joke turned into my reality as I was trying to free my hands from the lady in mention. When I mentioned calling the police, the woman screamed even louder at me, saying that her family would be taken away from her. That's when I put two and two together and got the picture in my head. Still struggling, I turn my head around and face her family members, each of them with the same grim expression with party hats and colorful paper plates. Eventually, she gave me an ultimatum. She offered me a chance to escape if I served her family some pizza. Gulping the air, I nodded as I quietly begged for mercy. I felt the cold dead stares coming from the table as I opened the first box and placed the pizza on the party plates. The first one to be served was a young girl, who I assumed was a grandchild. She had on a pink princess dress and a tiara. I had to adjust the tiara a bit to prevent it from falling off the skeleton, but she appeared happier when she got her food. I could almost hear a thank you come out of her mouth, but I blamed that on my panicked state of mind. The next person I served pizza to was a young boy who shared similar mannerisms to his sister. His sunken eyes and rotten teeth grotesquely greeted me when I brought him a slice of pizza. I asked if he wanted a drink but he shook his head. With each round, the woman's eyes stalked me like a hawk. Moments later, I reached the last of the family members. Instead of a warm thank you from them, everyone turns their heads towards the woman who brought me here. I turn my head as well. The woman is motionless and plopped onto the ground like a rag doll. Immediately, I suspected foul play due to the giant red stain on her back. About to scream, my feet move without thought as I finally make my way up the stairs. My heart dropped to my stomach when I was greeted by a familiar face. The man who appeared next to Cheryl in the newer photo looks like the same man in front of me. To my misfortune, this was not the seemingly innocent man in the photos, but rather one holding a massive kitchen knife. How he has been able to get away with this for so long is beyond me, but I immediately went into fight or flight mode. I was easy on the woman, but the man in front of me did not know that I took a full course on self-defense in college. The first thing I did was bolt toward the door, but that became useless when I felt the man pull me to the ground. With each attempted stab, I quickly roll around. Unfortunately, my leg drew a bit of red after I wasn't fast enough. I was about to have a panic attack here and now, but I quickly got myself together and pushed him off of me. Staying calm, I gave myself some distance between us and had a stare off until he lunged at me. With a sliver of a second to react, I stepped to the side and reach my leg out and he immediately trips over me. Stunned, I pulled out my weapon of choosing and tasered him until he passed out. I told him that he had no business trying to kill me, a 21-year-old college student. I also mentioned that justice will be served, whether it is through the authorities or through the victim's own hands. The police and ambulance arrived shortly after. A horde of questions came my way, and I answered them to the best of my ability. Thankfully, I would not be charged with assault due to my claim of self-defense, but the murderer, George, would be spending the rest of his life in prison. Cheryl was pronounced dead at the hospital and the detectives are scrambling to conclude how the rest of the victims were murdered. To this day, nobody knows the true story of the woman or her family, but one thing is certain. Anything could happen at any time and the world is full of evil. On the bright side, there are also people in your life who are your shining light and want nothing but the best for you. While I was being treated at the hospital, my parents, siblings, friends, and coworkers all showed up to support me. My parents hugged me and were blessed to still have me here. In a surprising turn of events, my manager fired me because the story brought too much attention to the local pizzeria and people began to suspect that the manager was involved. It sucked that I was fired, but I had no plans to return there anyways due to the trauma. At the end of it all, I plan to take another self-defense course to get even better at it. Thank you all for listening to my story.